Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good day, good week, good new year, and all of that other good stuff. Welcome to a strange and different and new and shiny, weird alternative episode in the universe of Dude and a Monkey that goes under the name of Dude and a Monkey and a Manc. If you're wondering why this sounds different, no, Mark hasn't got a cold. This is Noel. This is what my voice is. It's the one I was born with, unfortunately. And yeah, as I say, this is Dude and a Monkey, but with a twist, me being the twist, and also another twist being the format of the show, which we'll get into in just a moment. But as ever, despite the fact that this is the first episode, I'm joined by
Mark Foster. Hello, everybody.
Ian Loring. Hi.
There we go.
Hi. Sorry, I interrupted you there. I do apologise.
You can tell we really practiced this as well.
Definitely.
So we mentioned this on a sort of pop-up moment on Dude and a Monkey at one point, but essentially this is a kind of one-off podcast that we're going to do on the Dude and a Monkey feed, and I'm going to kind of jump in and join Mark and Ian to sort of join in the fun of it. And the concept is, do one of you guys want to explain the concept, because you have done so well in the past?
Go on.
Okay, yeah, well, the concept is, it came about from a drunken conversation when we went to see John Carpenter, where I was amazed that Ian hadn't seen The Fugitive, and then insisted upon buying him The Fugitive by a gift of an iTunes, gifting it on iTunes. And then the whole idea came up that we should do a podcast around this. So the idea is it's almost like a round robin. So, for instance, this month, I bought Ian The Fugitive, and then Ian bought Noel the film Tell No One, and Noel bought me Pompeii. Next month, Noel...
No, let's not do that. Let's talk about that at the end.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's talk about that, yeah. But then obviously what I was saying was next month, it'll be Ian buys me one, I buy Noel one, Noel buys Ian one, and then month after that it'll just keep flipping around, and we'll just keep going that. And in a way, it gives us the opportunity. There are rules behind it. The rule is the other person that you're buying for can't have seen the film. It has to be a new film, and also it has to be something that you think that they'll get something out of. For instance, I can't buy Ian Grown Ups 2 just to be a dick, because then he'll have to watch it, because he won't watch it. So we can't just do dick buys, is what I'm going to call them. We're doing stuff. If we happen to accidentally do a dick buy, then fair enough. But we can't do an intentional dick buy. It has to be something you think the other person will get something out of.
The thing is, I will say... Oh, go on.
Sorry, go on, Ian. No, go.
We'll get to it at the end of the show, but the next one that I bought for Mark, I really like it. He's going to go one way or the other, yes. And I don't know which. That's the thing. But I hope.
Well, the other thing to think of as well is this is it's an opportunity. It's a nice way of furnishing our own private digital sort of collection. Indeed. So you're furnishing somebody else's collection with a movie that's kind of a recommend, or something that you feel will add to their collection. If, Mark, you were to purchase Grown Ups 2 for Ian, it'd kind of be a stain on his collection. So it really would be a dick move to give him something shit.
I wouldn't redeem the code. It would just...
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame you. So it's good that we're going to do that, and there'll be, there might be along the way bumps on the road where there's something that one of us watches and goes, no, I just didn't get on with that. But it's never going to be. I'm never going to give someone a Pauly Shore movie. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, actually, I might though.
We've already seen them.
So that's that's the basic premise then. And so I think how do you want to work it as each film we go through it? We kind of do you want maybe we should, the person who has given the gift introduces their reasoning for gifting the film, or yeah? Do you think that's a good way around of doing it?
That'll do.
Is that what you kind of said? All right, you can kind of set up the film and say, this is what it is, this is what I like about it, and I gifted it to X. what did you think, sort of thing. I think that might be a nice way of setting it up.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
Excellent. Right, so film to start with?
Fuck. Well, I think two are thematically weirdly linked, and then you've got the other one. So, do we do the other one, or the two that are kind of linked? Almost, kind of.
How are two of them kind of linked? I'm looking at all three of them now, and I'm trying to figure out.
Man accused of murdering his wife.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, they kind of are. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah, we could go with the. I tell you what, seeing as I'm steering the ship, I will start with my recommendation, and then we'll go on to the two accused man movies. So to kick things off, then, this was kind of an easy choice for me. I know Mark's taste. I know my taste. I like kind of trashy stuff and unapologetically trashy stuff. And I am a fan of the movies or a large portion of the movies of Paul W.S. Anderson for that reason. Pompeii from 2014 is a movie that is just one of those films that, you know, when a movie just hits you at the right moment, you're in the right space, you're in the right mood. Faster is always an example that I go to with this, because I know we've had this discussion before, but, you know, maybe you've had a couple of beers, maybe you're in the right environment, you've got a moment of peace, you're just in the right mood for something trashy and silly, and you get it. Pompeii is a movie that is exactly that for me. It's not the greatest movie in the world. It's not the greatest Paul W.S. Anderson movie. But it's an awful lot of fun. I had a great time with it, but I knew that it was trashy. But it's always been one of those films that I've kind of felt, I've never felt that I needed to defend it, but I've always kind of felt, yeah, I liked that. I had a good time with that. So I thought, Mark likes trashy stuff. He might have a good time with this. I'll send him a bit of Pompeii his way. So, Mark, 2014's Pompeii, what did you think?
Well, I'd not seen it, which is quite strange because I too enjoy the films of Paul W.S. Anderson as well. I've always had quite a lot of fun with his films ever since Shopping, which was his debut film, sort of over 20 years ago. And obviously he's had a big hand in the Resident Evil movies. And I'm actually just having a look at his output, and I think I've seen literally everything he's done or written or produced. So you know, this was like the kind of the missing link in my Paul W.S. Anderson thing. I liked it. Like you say, it's trashy, it's fun. We just kind of said off air that it is a little bit like Gladiator meets Titanic, which is exactly what it is. But do you know what? I think I'd watch Pompeii again over both Gladiator and Titanic, and it definitely won't be the last time it gets watched. All the cast are suitable. I'm not going to say they're good as such, but they are all suitable in it. I love the fact that Keith Sutherland spends the first half of the movie seeming like every time he's talking, he's got something stuck in his tooth and he's trying to get it out whilst delivering his lines. And then for the rest of the film, he's just so fucking happy that he got the thing out of his tooth. He's just doing whatever the shit he wants. But yeah, I really dug it. I think we'll get a little bit more into it, what we can into it, and what we each dug about it, or what we didn't like about it. But Ian, what did Pompeii? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I actually logging it on Letterboxd, I actually gave it a more positive score than I did the first time round.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched about 40 minutes of this on a treadmill in the gym at work today, and I was pretty pumped. Like, there was something. It was in the kind of the middle section where there's a lot of kind of like a gladiatorial fighting, and it was like, yeah, I'm enjoying this. I'm forgetting about the fact that I'm sweaty as shit, and I just I'm having a good time with this film. It's a good treadmill film. I've got my films that I watch on the train, and now I have my films on the treadmill, and this is a good one. I think it's interesting that it's one of the rare films where you know absolutely everyone will die by the end of it. So there's a certain aspect of what's the point to it, but I don't know. While it's on, it's a good time. Kiefer Sutherland may as well be called Senator Rapey. And I mean,
he's kind of what he's on. He's just, he might as well be all the way through the film. He might as well not have any words. He might as well just ride in on a horse every now and again and go, like that. He doesn't even need words.
Yeah, he literally, it is established very early on that Emily Browning has literally run away before he's had a chance to rape her, and then he essentially basically just goes in and says, "Oh, you want my money? Yeah, well, I want your daughter. Well, you can't have her. Well, no money, no daughter."
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's like, but he even so far as goes to say, "Look, two choices, right? And they both end with me taking her away. So you might as well have some dollar." And then when he goes, "All right," then he goes, "Yeah, I'm still not going to give you it." He's such a prick.
Yeah, I know he is. But then I don't, it's a weird cast because you got Jared Harris playing her dad, whose sole contribution of note for me was the line, "By Juno's tits, is that all your luggage?" which is magnificent. And like Carrie Ann Moss as the mum, what the fuck is she doing there? She just gets to do another, like, dying and gives a speech to someone like she did in Matrix Revolutions. Adewale Akinbayo Akbaji, that was an awful go at that, but I liked him.
I really liked him, yeah.
Yeah, like he's good, fun foil to Kit Harington's "I'm very serious, look at me, how dour I am," and then you got him every now and then coming in just going like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you, but we're gonna be mates," you know. And it's I don't know, it's fun, but the action's pretty solid as well. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of CG and green screen kind of stuff, but you know,
I think the fight scenes are great. Like, I really, really like the fight scene. There's an early fight scene, the one that's kind of in the rain, that, you know, it's the equivalent of the "are you not entertained" sort of moment, if you like, where he sort of, you know, where Kit Harington just takes on all comers, let's say.
Is that one where he appears at the start and he looks ripped to fuck, and I audibly said, "Holy shit!"
Wow. And I think there's
kind of looked at me and went, What? I was like, I'm not gonna lie, it moved.
There's good sort of nasty fight scenes in it, and I think they work really well. It's a film that shouldn't work for an awful lot of reasons. The first reason being, as Ian said, you know what happens at the end, or you know what's coming at the end, and that literally doesn't. You could pretty much set your watch by it. It's like the mountain erupts at, I think it's 1 hour and 5 minutes or something. It's literally just like bang, last act. This is when you're getting it. I mean, it's a 1 hour 45 movie, so you know what I mean. But so it kind of has to fill time with something for the rest of it, and the rest of the film really is Gladiator with occasional cutaways to shit moving, like, oh, something's moving over there, now back to Gladiator. Oh, what's going on with Gladiator? Okay, he's rising up the ranks. He's found a mate who he's supposedly fighting at some point. Right, okay, what's going on over here? Oh, something's moving. Right, back to Gladiator. You know, so, and it shouldn't work. Also, Kit Harington. Kit Harington isn't a great actor, but the one thing that he's got in his locker, and he does this in Game of Thrones, and he does it sort of more so here. He's got that sort of, he's a brute, but with something soulful behind his eyes. You know, he's got that sort of like softness behind the eyes sort of thing. He's mean and he's nasty, and, you know, he'll fight to the death, and he'll do what needs to be done, but he's easy to fall in love with. And he fucking does it to death here. He does it so much that it kind of makes me worry about his future career, because I have to question if there's anything else to him.
He's fucked after Game of Thrones. He's fucked.
Oh yeah, because this is all he can do. But he does it brilliantly here, and as Pompeii is what we're talking about, I think it really helps the film along. He's charismatic, you care about him, and you don't mind that you've sort of seen this story before with a better actor.
That's the thing. It is like that. He fits the role perfectly, and he plays it perfectly well. Like you say, he's got kind of a bit doughy-eyed to him, and the fact that he's not. It helps the fact that he's not 6'2" blonde. He's got curly hair, and he looks a little bit like he's doing all of this out of some kind of John Wick style vengeance for the fact that his puppy was killed. But he also does look like he could kick everyone's fucking ass. And the thing is, I hadn't seen him in Game of Thrones, so I don't know if essentially he's essentially the same character in Game of Thrones as he's in this.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but he plays it quite kind of well for this. He is believable as the character he is, whereas everybody else feels very much like they're hamming it up to fuck. But it's a historical kind of epic that isn't actually that epic, but it needs that overblownness. It needs that ridiculousness to kind of back it up. The fact that you've got the one guy who seems to have his shit together and seems to know what's going on is the gladiatorial master who is going, that crack wasn't there the other day. We should cancel this because shit's about to go down. And he's saying all of that with a beard that he's had curlers in.
Yeah.
And it's just like, right, hang on a minute. That's the historically accurate bit you're going to get. That guy's beard, yet the rest of it is all bobbins.
I do appreciate as well that the tagline for this movie is a truthful tagline, because normally if you had the tagline, what is it? Hang on a sec, it's no warning, no escape. And it's like, if you saw that normally on a film, it'd be like, well, yeah, no warning, no escape, but I bet they'll escape. Whereas here, it's like, nope, they're not escaping. Everyone's dying.
Yeah. Everybody's dead there.
It's the most on-the-nose tagline since Clash of the Titans, legendary Titans will clash.
Titans will
clash.
Yeah.
I love that tagline.
I was so excited for that fucking film. Sorry. I was so excited for that.
But to touch on what you said there, essentially, Mark, seen as the only person in the world who doesn't watch Game of Thrones, his character in Game of Thrones is essentially the kid with no parents who has to fight harder with somebody who has to fight harder than everyone else, and you kind of root for to sort of overthrow everybody else, sort of. So, in that respect, very much what's going on here. And in terms of his performance, they've pretty much taken Jon Snow and plopped him in this film. Really, he is, as we say, doing that sort of doe-eyed fighter character. So he's very much the same. But it makes you sort of wonder. Well, it reminds me of what was the guy called who was in Twilight?
Taylor Lautner.
Taylor Lautner. It's like the Taylor Lautner thing where they sort of went, oh, well, this guy's popular, we should put him in stuff. And then they put him in something and everybody went, yeah, we're kind of bored of that now. And he's just, what is it? I think he's on a BBC Three sitcom now, isn't he?
Oh, could be.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
So it reminds me a little bit of that. I have to wonder what Kit Harington's next move is.
His next move is he's going to be in a Western thriller called Brimstone with Guy Pearce and Dakota Fanning.
Oh, who the fuck is directing that?
That is directed by Martin Coulivan.
Brimstone.
Yeah. He directed Winter and Wartime. Nothing else of note. But he's also going to be in The Death and Life of John F. Donovan, playing John F. Donovan, which is the upcoming Xavier Dolan movie.
Wow.
Well,
really?
I mean...
Okay.
Yeah, with Jessica Chastain, Portman, Bella Thorne, Thandie Newton, Kathy Bates, Susan Sarandon.
All right.
He's got a couple of things. He's got a couple of things lined up that actually seem interesting. I mean, a Western with Guy Pearce as a character called the Reverend, and someone like Dakota Fanning thrown in there as well. That could potentially be quite interesting. he's definitely an actor that I'm rooting for.
Yeah, I think that's what I'd agree with there, because I've seen interviews with him and he seems like a nice guy, and the fact is that, you know, going for something like a Xavier Dolan movie shows that he seems to know his shit.
Yeah.
To go for something like that. You know, Pompeii seemed easy. Pompeii for him will have been, I want you to be in this movie, and we're going to give you this. And he's gone, do you know what, I might as well do that.
It's a step into movies. And to be fair, it's a Paul W.S. Anderson movie and he's leading it. So
yeah,
that's a decent enough jump from TV. And as I've kind of hinted at here, I feel like I wouldn't say he carries the film. I wouldn't say he carries a film well, but I think in this situation, because he's familiar in the role, he does a good job of carrying this particular film. So
yeah, I've got to say, I've been to Pompeii and I don't remember seeing the ashy statues of them kissing.
Of people kissing.
Was it too big a queue or something?
Hang on a minute. Are you suggesting that this Paul W.S. Anderson film might not be 100% historically accurate? And is that what you're saying?
I didn't see the ashy remains of many people around there, to be fair. It's eerie, don't get me wrong. It's a fucking weird place to go to. Didn't see much of that. I got very scared when I was there because I was like, what if it happens again?
I don't know. It's been a while. I think it's probably safe, isn't it? Vesuvius is safe.
Hot as fucking balls, I'll tell you that for free. Anyway.
So do we want to star rate things, or do we want to use the Doodly Monkey scoring system, or...
unless we come up with anything else for this, but I suppose would you play it forward?
That's a good one. Yeah. Okay, Mark. That's your question. Would you recommend this to someone else?
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun. There's no way from it. It's fun if you are of the disposition of somebody who can actually enjoy movies and has the ability to go, do you know what? I don't care that this isn't a historically accurate telling of Pompeii. I don't care that it is a little bit hammy. I don't care that you can at some points virtually make out bits that are green screen. If you just want to have something wash over you in a pure entertainment value, Pompeii is a lot of fun. It is. I watched it on New Year's Eve and I enjoyed the shit out of it.
Yeah, I agree. It's really pretty fucking entertaining, and also hour and 45 minutes for like a big disaster film. I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if they tried to stretch this out over plus 2 hours?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, it'd be Ben-Hur.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think it's rewatchable as fuck, and you can. It's definitely something worth owning. I think, because if you do want something easy, and you, like you say, you've got an hour and 45 minutes to burn, it does fill a nice slot. Excellent. That's good. I'm really glad to hear that. Well, from there, shall we take it automatically on? And Mark, do you want to talk us through your recommendation for Ian?
Yes, I recommended The Fugitive for Ian. And this was because I wanted to watch, weirdly, I did speak about this on the Do the Monkey podcast when I watched The Fugitive, but I wanted to watch US Marshals. But it's a sequel to The Fugitive. Well, not a sequel, but it's the same characters in terms of Tommy Lee Jones' character. It's a sequel for his character there. So I thought, right, I need to rewatch The Fugitive. And I just had a look to see how much it was on iTunes at the time, and it was $4.99. I thought, do you know what? $4.99 to rewatch The Fugitive, that's a decent enough price. I remember kind of enjoying it when I watched it back in the early 90s, so I'll give it another go. And then rewatched it and was actually surprised at how much I enjoyed it. Because I remember this, and you might be able to remember this a little bit better than Ian maybe, because Ian's a couple of years younger than myself. The Fugitive was like one of those movies that was a big movie at the time. And it was a big movie because literally everybody who watched it kind of liked it. It was a solid, like, 5 out of 5 and 9 out of 10 and 10 out of 10 movie for across the board. Critics liked it, but box office, 4 or 5 times a year, cinema goers really liked it as well.
It was back in the days when Harrison Ford could do an action thriller and it would be top of the box office.
Yeah, it was a big deal, and I remember sort of that about it, and then rewatching it sort of 20 years later, I was like, you know what? This isn't just a movie that everyone remembers as being a good movie. This is a really good movie. And I almost thought it's actually got lost in time because it's good. It's not exceptional. It's not something that should have won awards or anything like that. It is just a really solid movie. So it's almost kind of got not forgotten about, but everybody just assumes that it's good and nobody talks about it anymore because it's just a good movie. And then Ian said that he hadn't watched it, and I thought, do you know what? You should watch it because it's really, really good. And then that's where I said, do you know what? I will get you it, and that means you have to now watch it because I have bought you it, and you are obliged to watch it. So, and it's the sort of movie where I think that most people would enjoy. And I know that Ian likes his Harrison Ford, grumpy Harrison Ford movies, and who doesn't like Tommy Lee Jones?
Yeah, I mean, 90s big name actor star vehicles is a bit of a blind spot for me, I feel like. So I came to The Fugitive looking at the runtime with a bit of trepidation, I won't lie. It's over 2 hours. But one of the things I liked about it, at least until the third act, is that it's pretty pacey. Like, before it said directed by Andrew Davis, he's in prison for the murder of his wife. You see the fight with the one-armed man and whatnot, and you're in. Within about 20 minutes or so, he's on the run, and then it's just go time. And then there's a weird lull in the middle where this is based on a TV series, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
It almost feels like there's a mini version of a TV episode where he decides to start working at a local hospital and help some kid out, and then Julianne Moore's there as a guest star.
Well, that's basically what the TV series was. It was kind of like a Littlest Hobo kind of thing, if I remember rightly. It was sort of like, he helps people out along the way, and in the meantime, if someone might start getting a bit wise to him, and he has to move on to the next place. I think it was one of those type of shows.
Yeah, so I suppose it was at a time where big screen adaptations of TV series were still relatively in their infancy. I mean, in the 90s, you got a lot of them, didn't you? I mean, you got obviously Mission Impossible, but the Val Kilmer, the Saint film.
I remember this coming out, and it didn't feel like it was a big deal that it was a TV. It didn't feel like
it wasn't like
we're doing a TV show of The Fugitive. It was just like it was like
the new Harrison Ford movie.
Came out, the new Harrison Ford action movie, and then I think, if I remember rightly, I feel like maybe Channel 4 started showing the original. Because I feel like I saw a few episodes of it, and that's how I know. I feel like Channel 4 maybe started showing the original show on like a Sunday morning, first thing in the morning or something, and it was more a case of, that Harrison Ford movie that just came out, it's actually based on this, and then as opposed to what it would be the other way around, and come and see this movie, it's based on that thing you like. That's how it felt. I mean, it was a long time ago, but that's how it felt to me.
I mean, it's the kind of film that I don't think we're really ever going to get again, in a sense that it's a big box office star starring in a big budget film that doesn't really have any CG to it, and the action is basic. I mean, the action basically climaxes with two old men or two middle-aged men having a fist fight, and then a climax in a laundry area.
Well, one of the big kind of things about this movie was the fact that at the time, the train crash bit where he runs from the train thing, he jumps off it, the Simpsons referenced and everything like that.
God,
that at the time I think was one of the most expensive action set pieces ever done.
It was, and I remember seeing a making of section on that, so I can't remember what it was on, but I remember seeing
games and videos.
It may have been something like that, some sort of late night, 2:00 in the morning kind of job.
Something like that, I remember seeing the same thing where they completely dissected it. And it was that, and it was like
weird,
a huge deal of it.
That's back in the days when something like that would happen, and there'd be that one. Obviously, I don't know, real trains were used and stuff like that. Now, something like that scene, it'd be a 3-second throwaway in in Captain America: Civil War or something like that. Whereas, that was the action set piece for this, and they're going to tell you all about how they did it.
The train, apparently, the train thing is still there, apparently.
All right.
Yeah, the studio never moved the train thing from the disused train track that it is, and it is. I remember reading a thing about it saying that it's still there to this day. That was a couple of years ago. I remember that.
That's pretty good. I mean, I don't know. I enjoyed the film. I'm perfectly comfortable with it being in my iTunes library. But I don't know. I mean, I have more issues. It's weird. I rated it higher than I did Pompeii, but I kind of have more issues because I would like to. There's more stuff I'd like to change with it, I suppose, because Pompeii is what it is. But like with this, I mean, the third act I think is pretty poor because the whole cat and mouse thing is built up so much that when it's like, well, Jones starts thinking, hang on, maybe he is innocent. They really start looking into it, and then it's like the third act is basically, well, okay, so I've been framed because of X, Y, and Z. Oh, and it turns out that guy that was a bit sleazy and a bit skeezy all along, yeah, he was responsible. And it's, yes, you have to have it for the plot, but they spend quite a lot of time on it, and I'm not that bothered about it. I would have rather have had more cat and mouse between Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. If I could have got another action sequence involving those two and maybe take out that fist fight he has with that guy on that rooftop, that would have been lovely. Sorry, look, I just heard a.
Sorry to send you a link to the Daily Mail. I'm not in the business of promoting that particular rag. But they do have an article about Mark, the thing that you mentioned, the train wreck.
Yeah, I just looking
is still there. So it's still there in the Carolina mountains, and you can go and visit and have your photograph taken with it. And interestingly, it's not just the train; it's the actual Illinois Department of Corrections bus that got smashed up as well is still there. That's great though that it's real,
weird, isn't
it's there. That's amazing. If I'm ever in the Carolina mountains, I will be sure to stop by.
Yeah, fucking right. I don't know. I mean, how did it hold up for you guys?
I only watched it fairly recently, so I did do a rewatch of it, and like I said, I only watched it a few months ago, but I still enjoyed it. Still enjoyed it on my rewatch. It felt a little bit more length that time, but I think if I watched it, let's say, in another 2-3 years time again, I think that the paceness had come back to it a little bit more. I really enjoyed the Tommy Lee Jones aspects of it, the fact that he's there's an arrogance to him, but it's a cocky arrogance of I'm very good at my job, I know what I'm doing, leave me to do what I do. And the fact that he, as he's investigating, tracking down Harrison Ford, he also kind of starts to discover, hang on a minute, I still need to track this down, I need to find this guy, but this guy's fucking innocent. And it kind of, the fact that you've got that position of him, I'm going to find you, I'm going to get you, but yeah, we also need, once I get you, we need to sort this shit out as well, because it ain't right.
No, I mean, you've got the whole thing. I will say as well, the whole kind of aqueduct sequence was a lot earlier in the film than I kind of expected it to be, because that's quite a referenced sequence as well. But the whole, like, I'm innocent, I didn't kill my wife, I don't care.
Yeah.
I kind of would have liked him to have just had that attitude for more of the film. Just like, just like, I am doing my job. My job is to take you down. I'm going to take you down. It is a
fantastic line, though, that the way it's delivered as well, because it's so unexpected, and it gives you such an insight into that character at that point where he's just literally like, I don't care. Like, it's brilliant. And I think important to remember, I mean, I only managed to get through the first half of this. It was kind of late. I was in the mood for watching it, and I immediately, I loved this film at the time, and I watched it quite a few times when it first came out. But I don't think I've been back to it, since then. It feels like around 20 years since I've actually seen this. And I slotted right back into it. I was absolutely loving it. If it hadn't have been so late and I hadn't been so damn tired, I would have watched the rest of it. But it's important to remember, as brilliant as Tommy Lee Jones is in this, and as prolific an actor as he has been throughout the sort of 1970s and 1980s, the Tommy Lee Jones sort of leading man kind of that we've come to know in the years that follow, this was kind of the movie that sort of really put him on the map as a leading absolutely. Man or a leading bad guy. I mean,
he was a character actor before that.
Yeah, exactly. He was a character actor for many years, and The Fugitive happened in 1993. Bear in mind that 2 years later he was playing Two-Face in a Batman sequel. That's quite a jump, and I think this film had an awful lot to do with that.
The year before he was in The Fugitive, he played the main bad guy in Under Siege.
Yes.
Guillame movie, which also weirdly was directed by Andrew Davis as well.
And he's great. He is great in that as well.
And he's great in that.
A very similar kind of character with this. Yeah.
And he's the fact is, the studio didn't want. Andrew Davis got The Fugitive because Under Siege had made more money than they'd expected. Under Siege kind of ended up being a really big hit, and so Andrew Davis got The Fugitive, which was the new Harrison Ford movie, and he essentially said, "I'll do it, but I want to bring my mate across with me as well," because he'd made a couple of movies with Tommy Lee Jones, and the studio were like, "No, we want a bigger star." I think at the time they wanted Pacino, because Pacino was making his comeback into acting. I think he'd done Sea of Love a few years before, and then Seventh Woman I think was around this time as well, and they wanted Pacino for the role, and Andrew Davis kind of said, no, I want this guy, and then Tommy Lee Jones actually came in and read for it, and they said, all right, we'll go, and then we'll do it because we can't get Pacino anyway because he's doing something else, and then he ends up winning an Academy Award for it. It's it's one of those mad little things, and then from there he's gone on to have when you look at the movies, the level of movies he's made since The Fugitive, like you were just saying there, no, to the 20 years before The Fugitive, it's chalk and cheese.
Yeah. I mean, it does feel like it was kind of quite late in his career as well. He was 47. He was 47 years old when this came out, which I kind of thought he'd be older, because you look at that guy, and this is a guy that's only 8 years older than I am. Now, Tommy Lee Jones has got a very lived-in face. I hope I don't look like Tommy Lee Jones did, or Tommy Lee Jones does here in 8 years. He's aged very fast. But anyway, it was still quite late in his career, and to think that from the age of 47, that's when you start getting the Batman Forever role, the Men in Black role, the real sort of big movies that followed. That's some doing, and it's not entirely down to this film. Under Siege had a role in there. Natural Born Killers likely had a role to play in there, but it's all contributing to sort of really making a star in the 1990s that we didn't really have before.
Absolutely, yeah.
Excellent.
But yeah, I mean, I also the thing is, I've seen U.S. Marshals and I haven't seen The Fugitive. I don't quite know how that happened, but
I've not seen U.S. Marshals. That's how.
It's a fun watch.
I'm gonna rewatch it because, looking at IMDb, it looks like all of his team are in it again, and I kind of want to watch more of him and his team.
Yeah. Wasn't it quite a few years later though? It was. 5 years later.
Mm.
That seems like a strange. Sort of like 5 years later, when the cinema landscape's changed quite a bit more and is quite blockbuster heavy, and you've got Batman movies coming out and stuff like that, and for them to sort of go back to the well to do a spin-off of The Fugitive. I mean, it was a popular movie.
He won an Oscar, didn't he? So...
Yeah. But I mean, to go back to that particular well seems strange after 5 years. When you've got a guy who's now in Batman movies and Men in Black movies. I don't know. Maybe does that not seem strange to you?
I think it was literally just the money, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, they tried to pitch it a little bit different. They had Wesley Snipes on board, and so they tried to pitch it. Robert Downey Jr., isn't it? Of course, and they tried to pitch it more as like an action-based movie rather than a thrillery type movie.
I need to see it. I need to see that film.
Yeah, I think I'll probably.
I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix or something. I'm sure it is.
Mm.
So, I mean, I don't know. We haven't really talked about Harrison Ford all that much, though.
No.
I mean, he's good. He's Harrison Ford. It's kind of. There's not much more to him than that, is there?
I think quite early on, though, when you see him sort of, I think he feels like a different character early on. And for me, rewatching it this time around, I remembered something that was definitely present for me years ago as well, and that's in that first act. Oh, sorry, not in the first act. In that first sort of 20 minutes, he doesn't do a great job of convincing you that he is innocent. He comes across as, well, maybe he did do this. Like, I mean, you know that he didn't because that's the film you're watching. But there's almost a sort of, it's not just that all the evidence is stacked against him. It's that he's not really explaining himself very well, and he's not really. He doesn't appear to be very upset.
He's got a. I don't know whether it's Harrison Ford's personality, but which it isn't, because you see Harrison Ford, he's actually quite a lovable, grumpy bastard. Whereas Richard Kimball comes across as a bit like he's a bit of a dick.
Yeah. He's rich. He's happy, and nobody wants to root for rich, happy doctors, do they? So,
nope.
Especially when they're grumpy and they've got a beard. It's maybe he just doesn't. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but it seems to take a while for you to kind of get on board with him and want him to solve the crime, because early on it feels a little bit like, well, maybe he did do it because he seems like a bit of a cunt.
Yep.
Strong words.
Yeah, always. So, Ian, another thing you mentioned was the cast and how they are billed.
Yeah, man. All right. So, Celia Ward is third build. Julianne Moore is fourth build. Celia Ward maybe has 2 minutes of screen time. Is that charitable? Like, she's in it at the start. They have their conversation at the start, and then it's pretty much just flashes of her either dying, shagging with her shirt on, and anything else.
I think that's about it, yeah.
And then Julianne Moore, who's in it more than her. The thing is, because she was fourth build, when she popped up, I thought, right, is she going to help him out through the course of the film? And then when her last scene happened, I was like, oh no, that is really it, isn't it? So, I mean, That's the thing. I mean, poor Joey Pants. He's fifth build. He should be third build.
but Joe Padalino never got billed in any. I don't think he's ever been billed in anything ever. And he's one of the great unsung character actors, isn't he?
I'm not even sure he ever gets cast. I think he just turns up on set.
Yeah.
Yeah. The weird thing about seeing this now with with Cilla Ward as Helen Kimball, though, in my head, for years, just thinking about this film, I thought it was Ashley Judd. I don't know why.
I get them mixed up all the time, man. Yeah.
I'd have watched it a lot more if it was Ashley Judd.
Nice.
She's very dislikable, Ashley Judd, though. Do you not think?
Do you know what? I've got a weird thing. I actually really like a small group of her movies that she made in like the mid-90s to early 90s, where I watched them and I really like them, but I'm watching them going, this is garbage, but I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, they're complete trash, and they've all got terrible names as well. It's from that period of cinema where everything was, everything sounded like a late night Sky Movies porno.
Yeah, yes, which they kind of were a little bit.
Justice and stuff like that. Like they're all sort of, I'm pretty sure they're all written by like the same guy as well.
Yeah, I think
these Along Came a Spider type things.
High Crimes is one of them. Yeah, Twisted.
Yeah. Double Jeopardy.
Double Jeopardy is one of the most ridiculous movies I've ever seen.
But it's Double Jeopardy. It sounds like a parody name for one of these films, doesn't it? If you had to invent a movie in your head that was a 90s thriller, you'd probably say Double Jeopardy. Yeah, starring Ashley Judd and Tommy Lee Jones.
In fairness, though, that's a fucking great premise for a film, though. Like, her husband set her up, and he's not actually dead, but because she can't be convicted of the same thing twice, she thinks, fuck it, I may as well murder him now. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I could watch that type of shit all day long.
I do.
Yeah.
That's just lovely. All right, so would I recommend The Fugitive to someone else? Sure, absolutely. Mainly, to be honest, for Tommy Lee Jones. I mean, my problems with the third act. I mean, were you guys do you guys feel that at all? Or I mean, Noel, you didn't watch the whole thing.
It's not as strong. It does go up and it does kind of come down a little bit. It's the weakest part of the movie. No, but I kind of had enough good grace for it by then to let it kind of get away with it.
Okay.
I didn't get as far as the third act this time, but what I will say is, an hour in, there's a section in the middle. It did start to feel it did start to make me realize, oh shit, I'm gonna have to go to bed because I'm not gonna get through this. It could be. I think this would work better as a slightly shorter film. Maybe if it was just under 2 hours, maybe, or an hour 45 to 2 hours. But then I say that about most movies. So
one final thing that's just come to mind as well that I wanted to talk about. There's a sequence where Tommy Lee Jones and Joey Pants interview the guy who turns out actually did it, and he says, "Oh yeah, I gave him. He stopped me, and I gave him some money, and he went on his way." And it's like, well, any idea where he went? No. And he's smarter than you. You're never going to catch him. Wouldn't it be good if they did catch him? Because he wants him to go down. Surely he doesn't want the guy who could jeopardize everything running around doing.
Yeah.
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 Like it kind of feels like it's just that basically makes you think, oh, so he's not involved for the next.
It's an intentional misdirection, isn't it? Whereas when you look at the whole, maybe it doesn't kind of work as well.
It doesn't really make much sense.
No. It's kind of unnecessary, really, as well, isn't it? So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, there you go. But yeah, I would play it forward.
Excellent. Okay, so from there, shall we move on to our third and final film? Ian, this was your selection for me, so why don't you tell me your reasoning behind recommending 2006 is Tell No One?
Well, it's directed by Marion Cotillard's husband, and I like thinking about Marion Cotillard. And if I have to think about her husband in the process, then I will. So, no, I mean, basically, it was in the kind of mid-2000s, like, post-film degree kind of thing for me, where it was like, I'm going to watch all the, like, foreign language hit films that cross over into the UK mainstream and get that kind of thing. And in I think 2006 when this came out, it felt like this was quite a hot film, and I only watched it the once previous, and to be honest, I was kind of itching for a rewatch myself anyway. And I just figured, Noel needs to class up his act a little bit.
That's true.
Watch some stuff with subtitles. So
yeah,
I thought, why not? But no, I mean, seriously, I thought it was a solid thriller, which I actually just quite like to have a discussion about, to be honest.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, what did you think, bud?
Well, I went into it knowing absolutely nothing because the only thing I knew about it is I remembered it being around at the time as, like you say, one of those. I don't know if it was ever released on any specific sort of foreign label DVD, like Tartan and stuff like that. But I remember it being one of those movies that you'd see in the foreign section at HMV that was clearly well regarded and had done quite well critically. So I was always aware of the sleeve and of seeing it around, but I didn't know anything about it, anything about the plot. I wasn't 100% sure on the genre. If it had fallen sort of fallen into a bit more horror territory, I wouldn't have been surprised at all. I wouldn't have known. So I went into it absolutely cold, and I would agree. It is an excellent thriller up to a point.
And okay.
It's pacey, it's gripping, you are really, really hooked into where this guy is at, what the truth. I mean, the way it sort of, the way it unfolds, the way you're introduced to the characters at first. It does that brilliant thing that films do, where they just let the characters unfold bit by bit alongside the story. The setup isn't, this is this guy, this is what he does for a living, and this is what he's about, and now this happens. They just let the characters unfold as the film goes on, and so it happens bit by bit, and you're piecing things together and trying to understand what's happened and what the mystery is. And, well, hang on a minute, was his wife having an affair then? Oh, my God, that's terrible. Oh, no, she wasn't having an affair. This is actually what happened there. So this guy was exploiting this situation. Right, well, where's he going to go next to find it? And it's brilliantly paced. And then in the last act, it sort of rips up everything that it's done and goes, oh, now this guy is just going to explain it.
Yeah.
And then that guy explains it, and you go, oh, right. Oh, well, that's not what I was expecting at all. And then he goes, right, now I'm going to turn the TV up and explain it all over again, because it's actually completely different to all that stuff that I just said. And not only all of that film that you just watched, but all that stuff that I just said, none of that's true. This is actually what happened. So it's a bit like, what? I feel like I've had 2 hours of my life wasted. So it's a great thriller, but I had serious problems with the ending. I felt a bit cheated by the end.
I've got to say, I completely forgot that the last 20 minutes or so was what the last 20 minutes was. Because, it's great when he's running around and he's like, he doesn't really have a clue what's going on and he's piecing together the mystery. And then as soon as his father-in-law points the gun at him and basically says, sit down while I info dump at you for 15 minutes.
And that would be unforgivable in many situations. But to do that and then go, right, now here comes a completely different info dump that sort of I mean, the section you've got a. I can't believe I didn't draw a comparison with The Fugitive at the time. You've got that whole thing about a running man and him trying to sort of get to the bottom of a mystery that's kind of being covered up by people. That's fascinating. Also, how he has to try and find help with certain people and how he falls in with that with the character of I forgot his name now. Where is he? Bruno, that's it, yeah. How he falls with Bruno, and you get to see a little bit more of Bruno as well. So something that's suggested with Bruno early on, you get to see an awful lot more of, and the sort of, he's obviously a gang runner or a gang leader of some sort, so you get to see more of that, and you get to see how Bruno sees a little bit of something in Beck as well, and sort of goes, oh, you're actually a bit of a fucking nutcase, aren't you? So loved all that. And how he's then... bouncing between other people he knows and trying to find out a little bit more. Kristen Scott Thomas in this just is fantastic. She's, it's basically like she's French. I don't understand how that works.
She's done she does quite a lot of French movies.
Yeah, but she's excellent in it. So it's such a shame that it takes such a weird path at the end. But it's a brilliant thriller and tense and highly enjoyable up until that point. So yeah, that was kind of my experience of it.
Yeah, I agree. I forgot. Like, I was watching when he was the father-in-law was recounting everything, and I was just thinking like, Noel's fucking hating this. It's gonna really make him tear his hair out, and it's really promising building up to it, and it's really kinetic. Yeah. There's a lot of movement going on, and there's stuff constantly happening, and it is literally sit down, let me tell you what's actually happening, and it goes on for so long. Like, it's all the backstory. It's not that we've discovered little bits through the film.
It's not one twist. It's an entirely different.
It's a whole story, and then
it's a different film.
Yeah, and then it's right. I'm going to put the radio up and actually tell you that thing I told you 10 minutes ago isn't actually true, and actually this happened. I mean, all right, Mark, what do you think?
The weird thing is, I really enjoyed it. Yes, there is a massive exposition dump, and it feels a little bit too long. It feels about 15 minutes too long, which is that kind of, like you say, him sitting down and basically explaining everything. There's better ways to unravel that than the way they do it. But before that, it's really good. It's really engaging. I didn't twig that it was Marion Cotillard's husband. It was actually the guy
who casts himself as the rapey man who kicks it all off, which I thought was a really weird touch.
Well, and I've never twigged that he's the French guy in The Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
And they as I think maybe I said on the podcast before, but maybe I just said to Donna, I can't even remember now, but actually no, I think I said to Donna, they voice Marion Cotillard and Guillame Canet voice the husband and wife villains in the French version of Minions.
Yes, they do, yeah.
And now I want to watch that.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
They do. While we're doing little quirky factoids, does anyone know what Kristen Scott Thomas's first ever movie was? Her first ever film role? No. It was Under the Cherry Moon.
Oh, was it?
It was Under the Cherry Moon was her first ever film role. Which is quite weird. Because when I watched it earlier this year, I thought, fucking hell, that Kristen Scott Thomas, and then looked up like, shit, that was the first film she was in. And
how old was she at the
time? 25, 26.
She was hot as fucking balls then as well.
She was, yeah. Incidentally, when Kristen Scott Thomas came on, Bex said to me, "Is that Kristen Scott Thomas?" Like, yeah, she's she's in quite a lot of French films. I think she counts herself as being more French than English because she's lived in France the vast majority of her life, I think. And she was like, "All right." She looks quite good in this, doesn't she? And I sort of looked back and went, "Yes, Kristen Scott Thomas looks good in something, shocker." And her response was, "Really? Kristen Scott Thomas? Like, she's speaking French. It works. It just works."
I was aware of the French thing with Kristen Scott Thomas. I think I've seen her interviewed in relation to a different film where she was talking about that and how, just how fluent she is. But I don't know if I've seen her. Maybe I have. I don't know if I've seen her in anything before where she's doing that. It was. I mean, everybody's great in this as well.
Yeah.
Francois Cluzet, who's the lead actor, is great in it. As I say, the character of Bruno, who's an actor called Gilles Lelouch, which is a fantastic name. He's excellent in it as well. Everybody's brilliant in it. The plot up until that point is great, and it's exactly the type of man thriller that I quite enjoy. It's just a shame they didn't figure out a nicer, tidier way of maybe just introducing one twist that pulled everything into sharp focus at the end and sort of left you with something a bit more final and rewarding, because it takes that away from you and sort of undoes all its hard work, really, which is a shame.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with like the two bodies and one of them having the key and like why do they have that kind of stuff? It would have been good if they if they were able to pepper that in throughout, and instead of just like you're told there were two bodies there, the key, and at the end it was because of this. Like, but instead, I mean, the film kind of focuses itself on is his wife alive or not, and then you've got the scene which I really fucking love this scene actually, which is weird because you two are playing, but the scene where he is walking his dog and he realizes what the username and password thing actually meant. And it's kind of building up, and obviously with or without you, it's an appropriate song as well. But the way it builds up, and it's clever as well. What the username and password thing is there.
Yeah, it is. But I found that moment to be a bit too on the nose, and it felt a little bit like, I mean, to a French speaking person, putting something that's so on the nose in there, maybe it wouldn't feel quite so on the nose because it's in a different language. But for it to be to an English ear when it's just so on the nose, I don't know. I found it a bit. Also, it is U2, and that doesn't.
Yeah.
That's always going to have. U2 are always going to have a negative effect on me.
Yeah. No. I mean, I agree with that, but just the way it's cutting between the username and the password, and then the Mac multicolored circular thing of death, where every time that comes up on my MacBook I want to kill myself, but the way that comes up and then it pops up with the message, and like it cutting between that and his face, and it like the face full of like hope and dread, and then bang, the email comes up, and then he's just so happy. I
kept thinking at that point. Nice. I kept thinking at that point during that scene, because he keeps looking at the dog, and they made a big point of the dog, and I was like, "Oh, is his dog gonna get?
They're gonna nick his dog." That's what I thought.
Nick his dog. And then his dog's made up dead. And so as all that was going on, all the niceness is happening, I was looking, going, "They're gonna fuck that dog up, aren't they?"
Yeah.
But then it turns out that the dog actually proves his innocence.
Yeah, which was quite nice. It is some of the kind of musical drops in the movie are quite pronounced, I'd say, in terms of the fact that he uses full songs 3 or 4 times. You've got the With or Without You is pretty much the entire song. The opening, I think it is.
Is that the Otis Redding?
It's the Otis Redding one. And then there's the full use of Jeff Buckley's Lilac Wine as well at one point.
Oh, yeah. See, again, Lilac Wine, it's an excellent song, but it is again, it's quite on the nose about
very
sort of
French, isn't it?
Yeah, and just the sort of, it's about sort of, being taken away from your pain by something and thinking about your lost love and the suggestion of death, because so it does feel a bit on the nose again. It's not too much of a problem with Lilac Wine, and it's a beautiful song anyway, so it's fine. But it does again feel quite sort of on the nose.
But then, I mean, like the score as well, I actually thought worked pretty well. The main themes and the way, and I like the end theme, and then they kind of replay it again over the credits with vocals as well, and I thought that worked. I didn't know what the vocals meant, obviously, because it's French, but it, I thought that worked well too. And yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's I don't know. It's when the whole. I mean, could the mystery of is she alive or not, could that have been dragged out a bit more, and then take away some from the end as well? Because the thing is, I mean, the whole kinetic thing kind of ends with when Bruno and he kills that woman, like that really thin
and they
woman.
Disappear,
and then they disappear, and then it's And then it's basically, right, time for info dump, and then the old guy just gets arrested. And
I wonder if... Sorry, I was just going to say, I wonder if taking out the scene where she goes to meet him, but then she's sort of in the background, does that maybe take away something from the ending? I mean, I love the ending. I'm going to talk about the ending in a minute, but I think that scene where she sort of nearly meets up with him, but he's being watched, and she sees that and sort of walks away. Is that maybe something that could have been lost because it takes away from the reveal that she is alive and she's out there? Because at one point I was thinking, is she not alive, and is somebody doing this to him to get something else from him, or or to frame somebody else or something? So I wonder, was that scene necessary, really?
Well, I mean, even I don't know. I mean, like, obviously, we're talking about a hypothetical film here, but if he saw, like, if he realized, like, actually saw it and was like, right, shit, she is alive. Why is she not making an effort to actually say, hi, I'm here, and then that builds up the mystery in the second half as to why it is she's doing this all in secret, because obviously his main thing is, I want to get to my wife. If it's, right, I've seen my wife, why can't I get to her? Then I maybe it would add a bit more, but instead it's, right, okay, all these people are dying around me. I'm being exonerated from this thing, even though I did like the way that the detectives come round and they're like, we just want to apologise. And then by the end of that conversation, it's, but hang on a second, you might have actually been responsible for that guy's death, so we're going to still keep an eye on you. It's like, how shitty are these cops? I mean, just leave him alone. Just leave him alone. But yeah, so I don't know, maybe it would have added some more intrigue to the end, because once it kind of, like, the cops start figuring out, okay, he wasn't responsible for this, it is like, right, okay, the tension's kind of over now. The aggressive people who were trying to get him and who killed that other woman and whatnot are gone.
Yeah.
We don't really have that much threat left. So it's just time to explain the plot. And it's based on a novel, so maybe the novel does this as well, but then if it does, film's a different medium from books.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot I liked about it. A lot of the things that I've mentioned already. The tightness, the pacing, the thrill, the main thriller aspect of it. The whole notion of losing someone that, we're all married, losing your life and then and having the sheer pain of that and never been able to shake that, and then finding out that there's a possibility that she's out there and that you could get to the bottom of, just clinging onto that and being able to find her and just forcing yourself on. I love that. I really, really love that. And it's something that I can connect with. I really quite like the idea as well. And it's purely ridiculous and romantic. I really love the idea that two people can kind of get together when they're like so young and just spend their entire lives just completely bound to each other.
Yeah.
It's a really romantic and really kind of silly and ridiculous idea, but it does get me right in the chest. So I like that.
Oh mate, Lottie's got a boyfriend, and those two are going to be. I think those two are going to be together ad infinitum, to be honest. So,
but that's it. You can see. I guess if you've got a kid that age and stuff, or a young child, you can kind of see that little thing and think, oh, that's a beautiful thing. That I hope that's a real thing that actually happens. Anyway, so
mate, her and Morgan, this little blonde kid called Morgan, like they met in playgroup. Every time they see each other. I
remember the first time that I met Lottie Loring.
Well,
she must have been no older. She must have been no older than 3 years old.
No, I mean seriously, man. Like they've known each other since they were a few months old, and they just run around with each other all the time. She had her birthday party last week, ignored all the other kids, just wanted to spend time with Morgan, and all they were doing was running around after each other, and then they cuddle. And then they fall on the floor and then just start wrestling and then just start laughing at each other. It's amazing. Like, they're fixed for life. And the thing is, she's the dominant one as well. She's going to walk all over him, and I love it. It's brilliant.
Wow.
He does everything she fucking tells him to do. It's great. Anyway. So there you go.
It's a great little mechanic in here. It just helps weld that relationship and that sort of yearning thing in there as well. And that pulls me right through to the other big thing that I liked, and that's the very ending. It's not a typical sort of reuniting sort of moment. He's so exhausted and overcome that he can barely even look at her. He doesn't spin round and sort of throw his arms around her. He realizes that she's there, and he fucking breaks down on his knees, and she has to come over and hold him. It's a perfectly done moment and perfectly acted between the two of them as well. So loved it. And it's like I say, it's such a shame because there's so much that I love about this film. It's that and this is what I can't understand as well. This film was very well received. I don't know why people didn't have a problem with that, because it's a big jagged thing that sort of sticks out of what would otherwise be an excellent film, and it has quite an impact on it. So, yeah, it's in terms of recommendations, I am gonna have to say I wouldn't recommend it. I would. Do you know what? I think I'd recommend, but that would sort of ruin it for people. It's difficult because there's a lot of
recommend it with caveat.
There's a lot of drama and beauty in this film, but that structural issue, I feel like I would have to tell people about it, but I think that would ruin the film because it would ruin all the good stuff that's in there because you'd know it was coming. So I'd recommend it, and then I'd really want to talk to whoever it was that I recommended it to afterwards to kind of get a take on it, I think. So, yeah, I'd recommend it.
Good.
Anyone else recommend? Well, clearly.
I'd recommend it, yeah.
You would?
I would absolutely. I think it's... I think there's enough good in it to kind of to take it past that rather shaky sort of 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. I think you're right. So there we have it, I guess. That's 3 movies, 3 recommends. Nobody's fallen out with anybody. That's a good start. And that was our first Pay It Forward. So I guess from here, why don't we talk about next recommendations? Because we've had sort of prior conversations before the show on WhatsApp, and we've all kind of figured out movies that other people haven't seen. They're all sort of recommendations. So, Ian, do you want to start by telling everyone what you've recommended me? Wait, no, I recommended you. Well, you recommended Mark.
Fuck me. I was worried then. So the film Mark's either going to connect with or not, and I think he should watch it with Becky and Izzy. Just throwing it out there.
I probably will then.
Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl, which was a Sundance hit 2 years ago, and then Fox picked it up, and it kind of went to nothing. So it's 2015's Birth of a Nation in that regard, which is the only comparison you'll ever hear about those two films. And I think it's a genuinely lovely film. But it might piss him off, even though it's got Nick Offerman on fine form. So there is that. So I'm hoping he'll like it.
When you mentioned that, I thought, you know what, it's giving me a good excuse to watch that, because it's one of those films I could see me going, I want to watch that, and I will watch it for years. And then eventually just going, do you know what, I don't need to watch it now.
I mean,
I'm glad that it's come up.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm glad that it's come up, because it's something that I originally kind of wanted to see, and then it fell by the wayside and never got around to it, so I'm
it's a
keen
good
to
cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. A bit of John Bernthal, a bit of Molly Shannon. Yeah. The girl who plays the girl, Rachel, Olivia Cook, she's very good. She's, I believe she's the co-lead in Ready Player One, the new Spielberg film as well. So she's a bit of an up-and-comer, that one. So yeah, that was what I had gifted Mark. So Mark, what did you gift Noel, I suppose?
I haven't gifted him yet, but I will be gifting it. It's the 2002 Alex and Andrew Smith movie. There's two writer directors that you've heard nothing of since. But you might have heard of some of the cast, seeing as it stars Ryan Gosling, David Morse, and Clea Duvall, I think, is in it as well. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head from there. Yeah, it's called The Slaughter Rule. And this was based on the fact that Noel, and if I say this now and you go, no, not really. You're a fan of the film Warrior, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Well, it's not similar in terms of story, but in terms of kind of tone of these guys. Essentially, Ryan Gosling. I'll give a very brief idea of it. It's that very tough guys broken down, and that's what the slaughter rule is. It's that there's some quite kind of like, oh my god moments within it, and when you've got somebody who actors like David Morse and Ryan Gosling playing off each other, then there you've got gold. But it's never really had any kind of traction in the UK, and I kept thinking it would do at some point because of the Gosling effect, but never.
Yeah, was it again? What year?
2000. Amy Adams, I think, also crops up in it as well. Actually,
I think. Beautiful.
2002. And I started doing. I'm going to be a fucking Ryan Gosling hipster bastard now. I started following Ryan Gosling in 2001 when he was in the movie The Believer, and I've kind of followed his career since then for like 15 years now. And this was like the second or the third film of his I saw. I actually tracked it down. I think I ordered a Region 1 DVD of it and paid about 14 quid for it, and was not disappointed.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to that. And it's weird because I've genuinely never heard of it before, and I don't understand how that can be. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Excellent. That's good. Well, finally then, and I'm really excited about this, actually. I am recommending a movie from 2009 to Ian called Tony. It was just called Tony in the UK, but I think it was then sort of released again as Tony London Serial Killer. It's been described in the past as sort of a British version of Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. I won't get into it too much, but it's a movie that I saw, I think it was Grimfest in 2009, and I really, really liked it. And I met the lead actor and the director and spoke to them about it. And it was a film that I really, really got on board with. I've been keen to rewatch it for years. I've recommended it to other people in the past. I definitely think it's something that the old me really, really liked, and therefore the old Ian would probably have really, really liked. Nice. When I say that, I mean the sort of, the old filthy horror movie loving and sort of festival going Ian and Noel that we used to be before we turned into cynical old romantic bastards. Yeah. And also another reason that I'm really, really excited about it, and I didn't realise this until today, the director of this film has only directed one other movie, written and directed one other movie, and that is a movie from 2014, which I think Ian actually recommended me.
Was it? I'm Hyena.
Hyena, yeah.
Yeah, I've just
shut the shit up. Really?
Seriously, I only just realised that.
Wow. In now,
yes. It's Hyena is an excellent film. If anybody out there has not seen Hyena, it's a fantastic film. And I'm delighted to be recommending it. I'm delighted to be recommending Tony because I think Ian will get something out of it. But also,
mate, I
know Ian likes Hyena, so that works.
Yeah, man, I was up for it already. Knowing that now, I'm very excited. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Excellent. So, so next episode, whenever that is, we will be covering those 3 films. That was our first Pay It Forward, and I think it was a success.
Yeah.
Gents, normal service will resume with Dude and a Monkey next week, I assume. Do you want to tell everybody what they can expect?
Double review. Silence and Assassin's Creed. So there's a fucking contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've both seen Silence, but not seen Assassin's Creed yet.
I've not seen Silence yet. I've not seen either of them yet, to be honest. I'll be watching them both on Saturday, I think.
Oh, fuck me. That is the hell of a double bill.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all right. And then the week after, we're going to be doing our year-end show. But yeah, it's Silence and Assassin's Creed next week. So, yes.
Fantastic. Okay, well, that draws that to an end. As always, if you've got any comments about this particular iteration of Dude and a Monkey, then please let us know. If that relates to the films we've talked about or any other Pay It Forward recommendations you might have, you can get in touch via Twitter at Dude and a Monkey, at DudeFoz, at Ian Loring, or me at FilmRant. Or, of course, drop the gents an email, dudeandamonkey@gmail.com, is it?
It is indeed.
There we go. And as I say, normal service will resume very, very soon. So thanks very much, gents. That was fun.
Yeah, boy. Good.
All right. Good night, all.
Night-night.
Night-night.